I've been gone for a while. A lot of things going on. Daytime, well, I work both shifts, but my regular job has been kind of a little crazy. Then again, there's things like homework and other things, but I'm here now, and that's what matters. Uh, so it's been almost a month since I've done one of these, and I was going to do one of the Faces of Loki episodes, but been really bothering me. Lately, not bothering me, it was pulling at me to discuss what it is to be Lokean and Rokkatru. I will be the first to tell you I have been slacking again with I hurt my arm, I had some car issues, I had all of these things going on, a little bit of craziness, and then again, of course, why wouldn't I? And that's part of what got me here. I called my brother, telling him some stuff I was going on, and some thoughts I had personally, and the response, welcome to being Lokean, hon. So, that's where I'm at, and I need to get back on it. So I thought tonight I would just discuss what it is to me, what it means to me to be Lokean, Rokkatru, what I feel I should be doing more often, like I was in the beginning. So maybe this is also my version of accountability for myself by posting it here for you guys. So anyway, enough of that. When we talk about Rokkatru, you know, that is a branch of heathenry, Norse paganism. A lot of people have issues with the terminology because of its origins, the person who first said it. There's some problematic mm, details with them and some of the things they stand for. But as for a term itself, regardless of who first coined it, it fits. We look at Asatru, which is true to the Asir. And we have Vanitru, true to the Vanir. So why not let the Roker have their people too? Because there are a lot more of us than people realize. So what does that mean? Well, for one, those are our primary deities. Doesn't mean we do not honor others or that we don't respect others. Uh, yes, there are many of us who cannot, for one reason or another, work with the Asir or some of us even Vanir. Kind of depends on, each individual person. Um, some of them just will not work with some of us. It's just like any other path out there. What deities call to you that you jive well with may not work for someone else, and that's okay. No harm there. The point is, our primary patrons, etc., those are the Jotun, the Roker. And so one of those things is honoring our gods. That's one of the first things, if not the first, actually, for, to me, what it is to be Rokkatru, to be Lokean. My patron is Loki. That is why I say I am Lokean. As we do the Faces of Loki videos later, you will see a little more what that means. But for Rokkatru as a whole, which Lokean falls under that category, number one thing is we honor our gods. Again, when we say that, we are counting the Jotun as deity. If you don't like the term God, Okay, God is a title. They are higher than us. That's what we mean. And if you want to compare it to other pantheons and other stories and religions and what God is to them, then yes, the Jotun are definitely part of that category, because you look at the creation from Norse mythology and you'll see we all came originally from the Jotun, even the Aesir. So they are part Jotun. So we have, first of all, Surtur. Surtur, Muspelheim, the fire melted the ice that made Ymir. Ymir had his children, and it was from his body that Odin and his brothers created everything. So the very ground we walk on from that perspective is Jotun. The mountains are his bones, the rocks are his teeth, the clouds are his brain. So we're all a part of that. The trees were made from his hair. And of course later they tell us we were made from the trees. So we cannot get away from the fact that if you are viewing God or the title of gods as creators, those who made us where we came from, then you have to accept the fact that Odin himself came from that. His mother was Jotun. So we still fall back to that was the beginning. Now, I personally include other so-called darker deities in that category. For me, Rokkatru could also include, like the Greek Titans. It could include, like the gods from the Jotun in ancient Egypt. Set from one. Then, of course, Hades, Persephone, in the Greek pantheon. All of these primal forces. We have many who follow also the Morgan. So the so-called darker deities are who we use. I kind of include them as distant cousins, but that goes into a whole nother thing. Not time for that. I'm going to take long enough as it is. But basically, they're the same kind of category. They all work together in the same field. Put it that way. There are those who work in the so-called underworld, dealing with death and afterlife. These are the ones that are primal forces. The Jotun. We know Logi. In the journey to Utgard, we find out Logi, not Loki, Logi is wildfire itself. There's one that, forgive me, I'm not remembering names right now, but the one in that same story who was thought, which is why he ran so quickly. So we have all these primal forces. Again, Ymir came from the ice. Surtur has the fire. These elements of nature, these are who we are. There are theories that every pantheon ever had cases of, as people progressed and became more agriculturally aware, more civilized, they would create stories that explained why these other deities went away, as part of how they describe their changes and why they no longer live the way they used to. So even from that perspective, if you don't view them as real gods, but only concepts, it still works. At one point, we were primal. We were surviving with nothing, basically. All the way back to your cavemen. So, God, I hate using that or, your Neanderthals, all the way up to Cro-Magnon. We have evolved as people, and so we kind of try in today's world not to remember that we were once more primal and more survival based, less civilized. The problem with that I have is if we don't acknowledge and accept that that is our origin, then how can we truly honor and be proud of how far we've come? You can't just say, "Oh, I'm a," I mean, you can, but what's the point? Oh, I I am a doctor, right? Well, if they're a doctor, they went through all these years and years of medical school. You wouldn't want someone to be a doctor that did not do that. So, I mean, that's a really weird, mundane example, but we cannot ignore that we came from a more primal time. Because that's how we evolved to what we are now. Some of us still kind of linger there spiritually. That's okay. I think some of us just have that natural fire. That's primal aspects that we accept as part of who we are. And that is okay. Yeah, we're smart enough not to go out and act like wolves in the middle of work. I don't know, some of us growl at people. Occasionally I do. But the point is we accept that that's part of who we are. We don't try to hide it. And we'll get more of that in a minute. And the other thing, speaking of that evolution, is the next part of being Rokkatru and Lokean is honoring our ancestors and our kin. I kind of lump these two together. We do honor our ancestors. Most pagan paths do, and it's especially so in the Norse community. We do that as well. The problem that people tend to have with that is they get hung up on either all about the ancestors and blood origins and not allowing others to come in, which is totally not what the lore even suggests. Or they'll get hung up on their ancestors who were Christians or fought against pagans and witches and things of that nature. And so people are scared to honor their ancestors at times. But, I say we just as a generalized thing, but I know I don't speak for everyone. I speak for myself. The way I see it. We have ancestors that are the earth itself, like I said, with Ymir and his body. We have ancestors who are blood kin, and then we also have those ancestors who are ancestors in spirit. Those who came before us on this path. For those of us who were raised by other religions before we found the path that we're on now, you can look to others who followed this path before you and count them among your ancestors. You can look to the gods as your ancestors. I've had so many people who do not even, they don't even want to honor ancestors in any way because they're afraid it means only blood. Or that, that stupid supremacist shit comes into play. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to be nice about that. We all came from one place originally. You can debate all you want on where it came from, where it started. Who cares? The gods are the gods. They call who they will. So if you are, you know, you, I'll say it. If you are not white and the Norse gods call you, hey, answer the call. Because even though those people are, the loudest, those supremacist jerks, there are still more of us who accept you, and the fact that we can't tell you, oh no, the gods don't want you. That is not our place. Most of us agree to that. It's just, unfortunately, the assholes have the loudest mouths. So we will stand with you. So yeah, Odin can be your ancestor. He's a fucking god. Ymir, skip right over to that if you want to. The ground you walk on. Anyone you respect spiritually, I personally have people I look to as ancestors in a spiritual sense. There are people that are just, I looked up to them and admired them and their stories when I was younger. It's kind of like if you have a career as a scientist, you might look to Einstein as one of your, I know someone's laughing at that right now, but you can look to others who went before you on your career path. So why would you not think you could look to and admire people who went before you on your spiritual path? I mean, I look at Joan of Arc. I'm not Christian, and I use her as a source of strength because she kept to her faith. Regardless of what that faith was, she didn't let anyone break her from it. So I'll use her as an ancestor. We also have our kin. That too, that's the living kin right now. And that too can be spiritual. There are a lot of us, especially amongst the Lokean and Rokkatru community, that have been outcast of some kind. There are a lot of us from the LGBTQ plus community. There are those of us who have been through trauma and abuse. There are those of us who are disabled. Part of why we are here is because the Jotun and Loki, a lot actually, accept us for who we are. I've heard many times a good leader will not look at your weaknesses as much as they look at your strengths. Acknowledge the weaknesses, but use the strengths to help you work with those weaknesses. God should be the same way. I would think gods would be smarter than humans. So if a human at a job can think to do that, then I'm pretty sure God would. So, for whatever reason, people don't want to acknowledge that. There's a lot of this Christianized views of gods want their people to be a certain way. That's the end of the story. No, it's not. It never has been until that one particular faith came along and made you think that. Get that out of your head. If you're going to go talking about, I'm a proud heathen, okay, then drop the past that you were raised in. And understand your kin, your ancestors right now are anyone who has followed this path before you. I'll say it. Your kin are the ones currently following this path. I don't care what color they are. I don't care who they love, who they sleep with. I do not care who they are. If they are following this path and they are legitimately trying, they are your kin. So you want to hold to these virtues. Whether you agree with them or not, almost all of us agree that kin and that kinship is important. That means those of us who follow this path just as much as it does our blood kin. And for some of us, blood kin is not kin. For me personally, my spiritual tribe is still my home and heart. No matter where I go, no matter how long I happen to be absent because of life's craziness, I know if I have a problem, I can go to them. If they have a problem, they can come to me. If there is something to be happy about, we rejoice with each other. That is what makes you kin. Loving each other and honoring and respecting each other and working with each other and helping each other along as you go on your path and grow not only together as kin, but as individuals. You don't help them do it your way. You help them find the way that is right for them. That is what love does. That is what kin and family does. And we who are Rokkatru, who are Lokean, those who follow the Jotun, however you want to word it, we personally owe it to others like us who are often outcast. Oh, there's still a lot of hate in the community for those of us who follow the Jotun. It's getting better. But if we can't even work together amongst ourselves, then they're going to continue to think that we're nothing but chaotic assholes. Because that's what the edgelords who want to slap the name of Loki on every fucking thing they do wrong has taught them. And that's not who we are. We love each other just like they do. So we honor our kin, both those blood kin who are, actually good to us, and for those of us who don't have biological family that we can love and rely on as family, that is what our spiritual kin are for. And we honor them and respect them and grow and learn with them. Now, the next part, which we've already touched on a little, is upholding diversity and equality. Again, a lot of people will try to say that you have to be a certain bloodline or race or whatever to follow the Norse path, the Norse gods. No, you fucking don't. I'm sorry. I cuss a lot. I've told you that. But, back to the point. If you believe these are really gods, and that they created us like the lore says, then you have to understand they made everybody else too. Again, no matter what color they are, no matter where they're born, no matter what their job is, because guess what? Biking was a job. And no matter what their sexual orientation is, no matter their gender, it does not matter. The lore does not say that it matters. Y'all made up that shit. I'm sorry. When it comes to other races, well, in the lore, you have the Aesir, the Vanir, the Jotun, and the humans. All the humans are one race in their book. Because they made us. So there's nothing backing you up there. Then later on, you really want to get technical. Early on, in the prose edda, when he's asking about why does Odin have so many names, and you know what he's told? Because every race of humans has met him and has their own names for him in their language. Wait a minute, all of them? Really? Yeah, all of them. In their own languages. Again, nothing to back it up. Nothing to back up hate. So we then take that a step further with the Rokkatru. Those of us who follow the Jotun. We take it a step further because the Jotun were also outcast for simply being who they are. You know, Ymir was killed and the world created, and the Lord does not say why. People made up reasons to justify it, but the Lord does not actually say why. Then that created a flood that wiped out almost all of the people that were existing at the time, including the Aesir who happened to be there. They just don't mention that. On the survivors went, and there we go, created Jotun. And they're living there, and they come in, and then suddenly, Aesir got a problem with every Jotun that comes around. You got Thor going out, literally going on hunting trips to bash trolls. They were hated for what they were. So for those of us who honor them, we have to also honor and help out the minorities who are hated for who they are. Now, that doesn't mean, I'm not saying you can't have issues with people who choose to be certain ways. No, totally different ballgame. But being hated for how you're born, I don't care what you say. Some of the things you say, you're not born that way. Yes, you are. We do honor that. We honor and respect and support diversity. Especially considering that not only were the Jotun hated just for being Jotun, for no other reason than they came out of a different piece of the ice than the Aesir did. What? We came out of the ice instead of the little salt lick. Sorry, we sprang to life naturally instead of, being licked out by a cow. I guess we just don't taste as good. Stupid. So since they were cast out and hated, and everything that went wrong was assumed to be their fault somehow, Loki was assumed to be his fault just because he was the token Jotun of the bunch. Yeah, there were others, but they aligned with him and did whatever they said. They agreed with him. Tyr kept his mouth shut when they tied up Fenrir. That's all they did. So we know what it's like. And we can't let others go through that. So we honor diversity. And then on top of that, we have the fact that they are, again, primal deities. They are nature. Nature itself is diverse. The Jotun were diverse. We had some that were in wolf form. We had eagles. There were rock giants. There were, even the dwarves, I think, in my opinion, kind of go along the same category because they were treated about the same way. And there are all these different categories of the Jotun. They were all so different. And then you have the Aesir, they're the Aesir. End of story. So we, of all pantheons, or subsets of pantheons in our case, we, of all people, should be the ones who most accept diversity. If you don't, do not take our name. Got enough people hating us just for being who we are. We don't need y'all running around lying on us. And the next thing we honor is nature. We've got our gods, got our ancestors and our kin, and diversity, and now nature. And when I say that, I mean all of it. Universal nature, even. There's the balance of light and dark, and life and death, and hot and cold. It is all that is included in nature and what it is, and the cycles of life. And that is what we do. We honor that. We honor the balance. And a lot of us, we call it the twilight. Because whether you're talking about actual light and dark, or light and dark as in, left hand, right hand path, gray, we do walk that fine line. And as we know, like the Jotun, everything has a little bit of both. All of nature is both. So we walk that fine line. You cannot appreciate the light if you've never seen the darkness, right? That's a common theme. And we also work about our cycles, our life and death. Death is a natural part of life. Yeah, I know some people say it sounds Wiccan. Well, it sounds very pagan in a lot of paths, so whatever. And the point is, we know every year it happens. We're there now. Winter comes, plants die. Spring comes, plants grow back. It's rebirth cycles. And whether you believe that rebirth is another incarnation, or whether you believe that the rebirth is moving on to the afterlife, whatever it is, or even scientifically speaking, eventually your body goes into the ground and it becomes fertile soil for new plants to grow. It's still an ongoing cycle, no matter how you look at it. Whether it's spiritually or scientifically, it is a thing that truly happens, and we know this. We have proven it. And so we have to honor that balance, and especially with so many of the Jotun being parts of both. Again, there are ice giants, and there are fire giants. There are those who are involved in death, like, not to mention Ragnarok. We have the Riders of Muspel coming in and burning the place down, and then after that, it all comes back. And it comes back with new leadership, new roles to play, and people, once again, hoping they will do better than their predecessors. So even the lore backs up the idea of following cycles. It's called allegory. And almost every religion, actually, yes, even that one, has allegory if people would just let themselves admit that. That is who we are. As for why I thought it was important to say this, because again, we Jotun folk are hated by a lot of people for no reason other than we are the Jotun folk. We are followers of chaos, supposedly. No, it's not chaos. It's chaos for a purpose. We don't do the chaos for the sake of chaos, just to be funny, just to cause problems. Loki didn't even do that. A lot of people slap the name Lokean on everything they do and call it Loki. Sometimes weird stuff happens because weird stuff just happens. Sometimes we go to the store and we see something that's really funny and cute and we want to buy it. Not because Loki pushed us to, but because it's really cute and funny, and because now Loki might have played a hand in you slowly accepting that you can buy whatever you want without worrying about other people's opinion. He didn't make you buy it. And you can go in and you can, pull a prank on somebody. Loki didn't make you do that. You know why? Because Loki didn't do pranks. His tricks were the trickster type. They had a purpose. He didn't pull tricks just for the hell of it. Oh, the goat. Yeah, the goat. Yeah, there was a big, big purpose for that. Because if he didn't make Scotty laugh, she got to kill somebody. Oh, Loki saved the Aesir once again with his evil tricks. So yeah, I thought it was important to say what it is we really talk about. What is we really look at and stand for. Because I'm tired of people thinking, oh, you're Lokean. Oh, Tom Hiddleston. Yes, he's pretty. Yes, he plays the role well, but there's way more to it than that. It's not Marvel. And then those who are claiming to be Lokean and admit it's not Marvel, they go with the fake view of Loki and the Jotun, and oh, we're the chaos. Oh, we're the enemies of the gods. No, we're not. We're bringers of balance. Do we fuck shit up sometimes? Yes. Do we do it just for the hell of it? No. We're not going there and cause fight. Why? You know why? Well, one, we're smart enough not to waste our energy on stupid shit. Now, someone's doing something, things are going on that don't need to be going on, and it's not getting fixed. Do we occasionally kind of split things in and make it change? Yes, that's what we do. Loki would do that. Loki would do things for a purpose. And we would occasionally. But it's not for ill intent. It's not just for the fun of it. It's for a reason. And I wanted to make sure everyone knew that it is a path like any other. Just because it's misunderstood or other people who are not a part of it try to make up what they think it's about, doesn't mean that's what it really is. So I wanted to make sure everyone knew that. It's really more about balance than anything. And again, like every other path, especially in paganism, almost everyone has those same key components, which is, again, honoring your gods, honoring your ancestors and your kin, honoring the balance of nature and cycles, and diversity. That's what almost all of us stand for. We just do it with the mindset of the Jotun. We do it with them as our primary deities. So that's all I needed to say. That's kind of who we are, in my opinion, how I see it. There's really a lot more I could say, but I'm not going to right now. The point is, Jotun are deities like any other. You know, they've helped people. They are balanced. They are primal. And we could not have this world the way we do without them. You know, whether you believe them in truly gods or concepts, however you believe, the point is they are necessary. They're balanced, like everything else. And frankly, I think they make things a little more fun. So that's all I've got for now. Sorry it's a little long-winded and boring. If, you know, I've been out of practice for a month. So, we'll see you all again soon. And hang in, because later tonight or tomorrow I'll be doing our little bi-weekly reading. So, in the meantime, y'all have a great night, and be kind to the Jotun. Night.